Let's talk about something no one's telling you, something that men secretly crave, silently wish for, but rarely ever put into words. See, a lot of women think that to attract a man, you need to look a certain and behave a certain way or play some kind of mental chess game. But real attraction, the kind that makes a man think about you when you're not around, that makes him chase you when you're already his, that comes from a different place entirely. It comes from conversation, not just any conversation, but the kind of conversation that taps into his deepest desires, his silent fantasies, and the emotional space he's afraid to share with anyone else. Here's the true thing: most men are starved, not just for sex. Although yes, that's part of it, but they're starved for connection, for authenticity, for the freedom to be seen as more than a provider, a performer, or some emotionally constipated dude who's supposed to have it all figured out. They want to be understood, and more than anything, they want to be admired. You see, when a woman starts a conversation that gives him space to feel strong and vulnerable, when she taps into his purpose, his fears, his childhood dreams, you've just walked straight into his fantasy. That's not a cliché. It's science. Emotional intimacy is the new sexy. You want to know the real secret to creating attraction that lasts. Make him feel like more than a man. Make him feel human. Show him that you're not just interested in what he can do or provide, but in who he is when the world isn't watching. That's where the magic happens. Let me break this down. Most women approach conversations with men trying to impress, seduce, or maintain a certain image. But the women who spark real attraction, the ones men can't stop thinking about, they approach with curiosity. They ask questions that cut through the noise. They say things like, what scares you the most about being in a relationship? Or what's something you've never told anyone but wish someone would ask you? You think that's too deep. Think again. Their men are tired of shallow. They get shallow all day on social media, at work, on dating apps. What they remember is the one who gave them a moment of soul. They're the feelings, not fears. They're not what really matters. But if you create that emotional safety, he'll go deeper with you than he's gone with anyone else. He'll start to associate you with freedom, with emotional safety. And when a man feels safer, he starts imagining you in his life, not just in his bed. You become the woman who can handle his truth. And that, to him, is more seductive than anything you wear or say or do, because now it's not about performance, it's about presence. So what do these conversations actually look like in real life? They start small. You don't need to interrogate him like a therapist, but instead of saying, "How was your day?" ask, "What made you smile today?" Instead of, "What do you do?" Ask that there. What would you do if money didn't matter? Instead of, "What's your favorite movie?" Ask, "What story do you wish someone made a movie about?" These aren't just cute lines, they're doorways into desire, into imagination, into emotional chemistry there. And when you walk through those doors with him, you're not just another girl he dated, you're the girl he remembers. Let's go even deeper. There's one conversation that men crave more than almost anything else, and it's this appreciation, not flattery, not ego stroking. I'm talking about genuine admiration. When a woman says, "I love how focused you are when you talk about your goals," or "It's sexy how protective you are of the people you care about," something shifts in him. You're not just noticing his body, you're noticing his soul. You're making him feel masculine in the way he wants to feel, not just physically, but emotionally, psychologically. That kind of admiration doesn't just turn him on, it makes him feel chosen. And that's what every man wants, to feel chosen by someone who truly sees him, not just for what he has, for realize they're who he is. That's every man's fantasy. When a man feels seen, not just looked at but truly seen, it awakens something ancient and powerful inside him. It makes him feel like he's not just desired but respected. And respect for a man is one of the deepest forms of intimacy. He can get admiration for his looks anywhere. Compliments about his body, his style, his muscles, they're nice, sure. But what makes a woman unforgettable to him is we taps into the parts he usually hides. When she says, "I see how much pressure you put on yourself," that's strong, but it must get heavy sometimes. Boom. That hits him in the chest, not because it's sappy, but because it's real. You're telling him, "You don't need to perform for me. You don't need to impress me. You just need to be here with me." That's the kind of emotional intimacy that makes a man think, "Damn, I want more of this." Let's be honest. Most men never get that. They're constantly performing in their job, in their friendships, even in relationships. They're trying to be stoic, in control, reliable. But inside, they're wondering, can I ever stop pretending? Can someone love the parts of me that I don't show? That's where you come in as a therapist, not as a fixer, but as a woman who creates space for his emotions, his mess, his ambition, his fear. You don't have to solve anything. You just have to be curious enough to ask, to lean in, to listen. And when you do, he'll open like a book no one's ever read. He'll tell you things he's never said aloud because you gave him permission to be more than a man. You gave him permission to be human. And that is everything. You want to know the most seductive sentence a woman can say to a man? Tell me more. Those 3 words are catnip to a man who spent his life being interrupted, misunderstood, or ignored. When you say, tell me more about his goals, about his failure, his view on the world, it tells him you value his mind, not just his muscles. You're choosing depth over decoration. And men remember that, because most women don't ask those kinds of questions. Most women stay safe, surface level, or stuck in trying to be impressive. But the woman who disarms him with presence, who asks questions like, what's something you've never told anyone because you thought they wouldn't get it? She's unforgettable. She becomes the place he feels most like himself there. And when a man feels most like himself with you, he doesn't want to be anywhere else. Here's another little known truth. Men crave conversations where they can be emotionally dominant, not in a controlling way, but in a leadership way. That means asking him questions like, what's your philosophy on relationships? Or what kind of partner do you want to be? These questions invite him to step into his vision, his values, his masculinity. You're not just getting to know him, you're giving him a platform to express the best version of himself. And when you reflect that back to him, when you say there, I love how thoughtful you are about relationships, or that's really attractive that you think that deeply, he feels like he's winning with you on a level most women never offer. Because now he's not just seducing you physically, he's rising emotionally. And you, by simply asking the right questions, become the woman he wants to grow for. Let's go deeper. You want to turn a casual conversation into a connection he thinks about for weeks. Here's how. First, ask him about a pain point in his life, but do it with care. Or what's something that changed you forever? Or was there a moment you felt like you became a man? Now, don't rush it. Give him time. Let him think. And when he answers, don't jump in with advice. Just say, that makes so much sense, or that's powerful. Then take it one step further. Say, I love how you handled that. It shows me you're the kind of guy who doesn't quit. Boom. Now he's not just talking to a woman, he's bonding with one. You've validated his struggle and reflected his strength. They realize that and that is crack level connection for a man. You don't have to be perfect to do this. You don't have to have all the right lines or the perfect timing. You just have to be real. Be present. Be willing to drop the act and talk like a woman who isn't afraid of depth. Because when you talk that, you don't just attract a man, you awaken him. You call out the king in him. And that's what every man is secretly waiting for. A woman who makes him feel safe to lead, safe to feel, safe to grow up, because she tolerates him, but because she sees him there. And when a man feels truly seen by a woman, he'll walk through fire to keep her. That's not just attraction, that's obsession in the best way. You become the moment he didn't know he was waiting for. Let's flip the script a little. You know what makes a woman magnetic in conversation? Then it's not just the question she asks, it's the things she's willing to share. Because when a woman opens up with something real, something vulnerable, something even a little messy, it gives the man silent permission to meet her there. Emotional honesty creates emotional safety. So when you say something like, sometimes I act like I've got it all together, but honestly, I overthink everything when I can. To have a woman ask, what does love me? I can talk to her about anything. She's real. She listens. That's when you know you've touched his core. Because now attraction isn't just about chemistry. It's about clarity. He's not confused about how he feels around you. He's drawn in. He starts making time, prioritizing you, sharing things he's never said out loud, not because you pried, but because you gave him space. You earned the trust. And now you're unforgettable. Here's a question that flips a switch in almost any man. What do you wish women understood more about men? You'll watch his whole posture change. Because finally, someone's asking him to go beneath the surface, not to defend himself, not to prove anything, but just to speak, to share. That kind of invitation is powerful. Because when you ask that question, you're not just showing interest, you're showing respect. You're saying, your mind matters, your emotions matter. I want to understand you, not fix you. And for most men, that is a fantasy. A woman who seeks to understand them, not compete with them, not interrogate them, but understand. It's that simple and it's that rare. And let me say this loud and clear. You don't need to be his therapist. You're not here to fix his childhood or rescue his ego. You're here to be the woman who sees him with gentle eyes, who listens like she's listening to someone worth hearing. Because when you do that, he'll crave you in a way no physical attraction alone can match. You'll be the calm in his chaos, the softness in his hardness, the realness in a world full of performance. And that's where love begins. So here's the takeaway. If you want to spark deep, lasting attraction, don't chase his attention, awaken his attention. Don't try to impress him, invite him. Don't just ask about his day, ask about his why. Don't be afraid to get emotional, vulnerable, honest, curious. because those are the conversations that make men fall, not just for your body, but for your soul. You'll become the voice he replays in his mind when he's alone, the energy he searches for in a crowded room, the woman he can't unfeel. That's what happens when you stop asking, how do I keep him interested? And start asking, how do I make him feel deeply understood? Let's close this out with the most important truth of all. The deepest part of every man wants a woman who knows how to speak to his heart, not just his ego. And you don't need to change who you are to become that woman. You don't need to be louder, sexier, cooler, or more mysterious. You just need to be present, because presence is rare. Presence is powerful. When a woman can sit across from a man, look him in the eye, and make him feel like he matters, not for what he does, not for what he owns, but for who he is, that presence becomes a drug. That energy becomes addictive. That moment becomes a memory. Men remember the women who brought them home to themselves, not to a place, not to a bed, but to their own truth, to their own authenticity, to the parts of themselves they forgot how to express. You don't need to give him answers. You just need to give him permission to feel. The fantasy men rarely admit to is this: they want a woman who makes them feel emotionally free. Most men don't get that. They're expected to be strong, silent, stoic, and unshakable. But inside, they're dying to exhale, to share the things they never say out loud. Like how scared they are of not being enough, how much pressure they feel to provide, how lonely they get even when surrounded by people. And when you're the woman who lets him say that without flinching, without judging, without turning it into a TED talk about emotional growth, you give him something no other woman has: a safe place, a soft space. And in that space, he feels something even stronger than desire. He feels trust. And when a man trusts you with his vulnerability, he'll trust you with his love. Let me be real with you. You can be gorgeous, you can be sexy, you can be all the things men find physically irresistible. But if you don't know how to speak to his spirit, it will always feel temporary. Real attraction is emotional, spiritual, it's psychological. It's the feeling that this person sees into me, not just onto me. And once a man feels that, you stop being one of many. You become the one. You become the woman he brings up to his boys like, yo, she's different. And it's not because of how you look. It's because of how you make him feel. He can scroll past looks all day, but emotional connection, he'll chase that. He'll protect that because it's rare. And men fight to keep what's rare. Now, let me give you a few conversation lines that spark attraction fast because they're real, raw, and rooted in curiosity. Try saying, what makes you feel most alive? Or, when do you feel most like a man? Or even, what would break your heart to never accomplish in this life? These questions hit different. They don't sound like interview questions. They sound like invitations. And that's exactly what they are, invitations for him to go deeper, to share something real, to be seen in a way he's not used to being seen. And when you hold that space, when you look him in the eye and don't look away when he gets emotional, he'll never forget that moment. You've just imprinted something on his nervous system, something no other woman has, and you didn't do it with seduction. You did it with connection. Now let's talk about energy, because the words you say matter, but the energy behind them matters even more. If you ask deep questions with judgment, he'll shut down. If you push him to open up when he's not ready, he'll retreat. But if you ask from a place of softness, of true curiosity, of genuine respect, he'll relax, he'll soften, he'll lean in. The key is to ask because you care, not because you're trying to get a reaction. That's what makes it safe. That's what makes it sexy. That's what builds the kind of attraction that lingers. Let me give you one more secret. Men want to feel useful, valued, like they can do something for you. So one of the most powerful things you can say to a man is, that helped me. Or, I really appreciate that you did that. Or even, you made me feel safe. These aren't just compliments, they're confirmations. They tell a man, you matter. Your actions matter. Who you are matters to me. And when a man feels that from a woman, he steps up. He wants to provide more, protect more, love deeper. Because now, loving you doesn't feel like a risk, it feels like a purpose. You become the woman who inspires his best self. And that's not just attractive, that's life-changing. Here's the truth no one tells you: a man doesn't fall in love when he looks at you. He falls in love when he realizes how he feels when you look at him. If he feels admired, respected, and emotionally seen, you've already won. If he feels judged, interrogated, or like he's just another checklist on your dating resume, he'll disconnect, even if he stays. So stop trying to impress him with the perfect answer. Stop rehearsing your lines. Just be there, be curious, be present. Be the woman who actually listens when he speaks. That's how you own a room. That's how you become the fantasy. So let's wrap this up with a reminder that might just change your entire love life. It's not about finding the perfect thing to say. It's about feeling what you say. Speak from your heart, not your head. Talk to him like he's already enough, not like he has to prove something. Share the messy parts of yourself, because that gives him permission to do the same. And don't just look at his resume, look at his soul. Ask about the things he doesn't show the world. Invite the real him out of hiding, because that version, that unfiltered, unguarded, emotionally rich version of a man, that's the one who falls in love deeply, fully, completely. And when he does, you'll know it, you'll feel it, because suddenly he'll be showing up without being asked, opening up without being pushed, loving you without pulling away. Not because you manipulated him, not because you played games, but because you finally spoke to the part of him no one else ever did. And that, beautiful, is the conversation every man is dreaming about. The one that makes him feel like you're not just another woman, you're his woman. And that is every man's fantasy.